I guess I guess we'll talk about that when the 7 o'clock one starts. I would assume that you'll start it and I'll take over and then give it back to you. Anyway, it's being 6:30. This meeting of council is called to order. This is a public meeting held by council under Section 34 of the Planning Act 1990 and is declared open. Members are to state any peculiar interest in the general nature thereof before this item is discussed. There being none, this public meeting is to consider an amendment to the Township of McNabb Braeside zoning bylaw 2010-49 for part of Lot 15, Concession 2, 1384 Burnstown Road. The public meeting is a requirement of the Planning Act. In accordance with the Planning Act, notice must be given at least 20 days before the public meeting is held. Would the clerk please confirm the date the notice was circulated and calculate that we have the required 20 days notice?
The notice was circulated to all property owners within 120 meters of the subject property on November 2nd, 2021. The notice was also mailed out to all the agencies as required under the Planning Act and published on the township website on November 10th, the calendar, and posted at the property by the owner on November 4th.
Thank you very much. The 20-day notice having been given, I now declare this meeting properly constituted to transact its business. Any person wishing to receive a written notice of the adoption of the amendment being considered at this meeting must leave their name and mailing address with the township clerk in writing. As required by Section 34, Subsection 14.5 of the Planning Act, council is required to inform the public of who is entitled to appeal. To the local planning appeal tribunal under Section 34, Subsection 11 and Subsection 19. Under Section 34, Subsection 11, if council decides to refuse an application or refuses or neglects to make a decision on an application within 120 days of the municipal clerk receiving the application, the applicant or the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing may appeal to the local planning appeal tribunal by filing an appeal with the clerk of the municipality. Section 34, Subsection 19 states no later than 20 days after giving the notice of passing of the bylaw, the applicant or any person or public body who made oral submissions at the meeting or made a written submission to council before the bylaw was passed, or the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing may appeal to the local planning appeal tribunal by filing an appeal with the clerk of the municipality. Would the clerk please give a description of the proposed amendment?
The subject lands are part of Lot 15, Concession 2 in the geographic township of McNabb, now in the township of McNabb Braeside, located at 1384 Burnstown Road. The proposed zoning bylaw, the purpose of the amendment is to rezone 1.01 hectares of a 4.83 hectare property at 1384 Burnstown Road to permit the severance of a new residential building lot. The effect of the amendment is to rezone the proposed severed lot from rural to rural exception 42. The rural exception 42 zone will require the minimum 94.7 meter front yard setback and a minimum of 84.3 meter rear yard setback to address the required separation of the new dwelling on the lot from a neighboring livestock facility and land zoned extractive industrial, respectively. All other provisions of the zoning bylaw would apply.
Thank you very much. Are there any written comments received?
Enbridge does not object to the proposed application, however, reserves the right to amend their development conditions. County of Renfrew Public Works and Engineering, no comments or concerns. Chief Building Official for the Township, no comments or concerns. Septic sewer system inspector, no comments or concerns. And the County of Renfrew Planning report was circulated to council with the meeting package. That's everything.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lee, brought to you coming from somewhere in a tin can. Mr. Howarth, would you have any comments on this application?
Thank you, Chair. No, I don't have too many comments other than what was provided in the report. So this application is as a result of a further, as a consent application. It's one of the conditions. So they need this zoning bylaw amendment to be passed so that they can finalize that consent application. The front yard setback, that's constraints. The front yard setback is to reduce setback for minimum distance, or to make sure they meet minimum distance separation from a livestock facility from the front, and from the back, they're reducing the setback to allow them to get a little bit closer to a mineral aggregate extraction area. So the application was supported by a plan justification study, and that recommend that provide that the application could be approved and that there's not going to be negative impacts, provided that those minimum setbacks are achieved or adhered to. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Bruce. Would any members of the public wish to speak to the amendment? And Ms. Garlough, I saw your note saying that you were online. You will have an opportunity to speak next. Do we have anybody else online other than Ms. Garlough? No? Okay. Would the owner or the agent of the property wish to speak to the amendment? And Ms. Garlough, I think I just saw something flash up saying that you were speaking, but nobody could hear you maybe.
Okay.
There
Now,
we go.
can you there? Oh, good. From my understanding, things are moving forward. Am I correct in that? I missed the very beginning of this meeting.
Yeah, you are correct.
Okay. No, I think that I've had wonderful help from the township, and I think I'm clear and have all my questions at this time answered anyway. Thank
Excellent.
you.
Well, that's nice to hear. You're in good hands with the staff and with Mr. Howarth on your side for sure.
Good. Thank you.
All right. Any comments or questions from members of council on this application? Mr. Broom.
Did I hear Mr. Howarth say that it was weren't quite at the full distance away from a mineral extraction pit quarry? I might have misheard that. Is it too close, or is it within the right? I guess what I'm looking at is just to make sure there's a clause in there that we're fully covered, that if it is too close to the pit or quarry, that we don't end up with another braeside. Maybe with, I don't see any issues why we wouldn't approve it, just maybe with clause that, everybody is in agreement that they're a little bit too close to the pit or quarry.
Mr. Howarth.
Sure, thank you. Yes, I might have misspoken a little bit. So the rear yard setback is to make sure that the house will actually be located 150 meters away from the extraction points. So not the lot line. So we increased the rear yard setback to make sure that the house wasn't built at the far end of the property, closer to the aggregate resource. So in total, so it's going to be 94, I can't remember the exact, 84 meters on the rear yard setback. So 80 beyond that, then whatever 150 minus 84 is what, 66 roughly. Yep. So 66 meters past that would be the extraction area. So it's just making sure that the house does not locate too close and maintain that 150 meter buffer. 84 on the severed lot side, and then the other 66 on the other property.
Okay. That's all I wanted to make sure, that we weren't going to end up with a situation that we, just got out of.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, this therefore completes the public meeting process. Council will give careful consideration to the arguments for and or against the zoning amendment requested for this property. The bylaw will be brought forward to the December 21st meeting of council for consideration of passing. Should this bylaw be passed, a notice of passing will then be circulated as required under the Planning Act, and there would be an appeal period after the notice of passing was sent out of 20 days. I declare this public meeting closed. Thanks very much, everyone.